Hello everyone! TheFoxern here, getting right into it, into our last episode. This is the last episode. This is the last episode of Viva Piñata. After this, I have beaten Viva Piñata. Viva Piñata will be done at the end of this episode. And then I'm probably gonna take some time off from playing Piñatas. But then we will play Trouble in Paradise, which I have gotten. Thankfully, Trouble in Paradise is a lot easier to get a hold of. You can actually buy it and play it without having to deal with a bunch of nonsense. This pretzel is gonna eat my chicken. You know what? I'm just gonna let it. Here. No. You know what? I'm not gonna let it. No? You're not gonna do anything? That was weird. But, yeah. So, my thoughts on this game. I will say this is a fun game. However, it is needlessly drawn out in order to get 100%. It does not need to be like this. There was no need for this to be like this. You better join my garden. What are you gonna be like? You're gonna be like Pretzel 9, aren't you? 12! I was way off. Had a lot more Pretzels in the garden than I thought. But yeah, I'm gonna take a long break from Piñatas, I think. At least like a week or two before I start Trouble in Paradise. Which is going to be another, from what I've looked, another 60 to 70 hours to 100%. So expect another 70-something episodes from that. That's gonna be fun, isn't it? Especially because I don't know what what exactly I'm doing, and it is controller only. There is no keyboard and mouse controls, so I'm going to have to learn to do that. But at least it is, at least I can play it without having to do some nonsense jankiness with going into the source files and having to circumnavigate stuff, but yeah. Are the lions coming out or not? It's just about to start tapping that to make them come out. Get out of there. I want to start with the Rario, please. Don't know me. There we go. Gosh, they're being so finicky. What? What is with that little butt wiggle? Are you gonna start butt wiggling too? Yeah, they just wiggled their butts. Okay. Okay, this one is going to be a little annoying. Alright, now, this is the last time I'm gonna have to do Castelots in this version. So, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As long as they don't, do something weird and I can't. Alright.
Your gardening is in.
That's a pretty good final happy dance. Cause yeah, that's it. That's the last happy dance. Am I gonna level up again from that? Almost. Okay, I should be able to do this real quick then, at this rate, because they don't seem to be too finicky about getting stuck or wandering off or getting into super long loops. I forgot to start walking there. Honestly, I expect Trouble in Paradise to take me twice as long, to be completely honest, because I've looked at the stuff in Trouble in Paradise, and there's a lot more. Romancing, you have to do a lot more to romance. You have to do a lot more to get Master Romancer. Also, does she have shoes on? We need to confirm or deny whether all of the characters have shoes. She does not look like she has shoes. I don't think she has shoes on. No, she does not have shoes. Alright, so half the characters don't have shoes. Yeah, okay. So, yeah, several characters just straight up do not have shoes. Interesting. Yeah, some of these characters just straight up do not have shoes. Like, Leafos doesn't have shoes, Cedos doesn't have shoes, and, like, I think, okay, so only, like, 2 characters actually have shoes, The rest have slippers. Like that's the other thing, is like, you don't have shoes. What? Why'd you go into the house? Oh, now you're... Oh, they tried to get in the house. I denied it. They were trying to go back inside. Come on. I refuse to go back to Castellot's. I refuse that woman and her capitalistic gains. I refuse to acknowledge her for the rest of this game. I refuse. Absolutely refuse. I only have to make them romance one more time. Come on.
Can you help us?
No. Only one more time. Come on. I just gotta make him eat the candies. Yeet that egg. Okay. Yes! I got it before any of the eggs hatched. Okay. Nice. Good work. Good job, me. I am happy with that. That's it. That is it, my friends. I have to wait until one of these hatches and grows up so that I can have them eat the medicine. And oh, look at that. That was like perfect timing there. You know what? We're gonna watch this just 'cause. Cause that is it, my friends. That is it. That is the final romance of Viva Piñata. That's it. That's all she wrote. There is no more. Look at this little fella. Look at him go. They're blocking each other from going into the building. They're still blocking each other. There you go. Just shove them out of the way. Man. That is it, though. My goodness. What a heck of a ride. What a heck of a thing. We're just gonna sit and wait for all the eggs to hatch. I guess I could have just added this. No, it would have been... I don't know. I feel like ending on 45, I feel that's a good number to end on. Eat this medicine. And that's the last variant. That's the last variant of the game.
Your gardening.
That's it. Though. That is well and truly it. It is well and truly over. The journey of 7 years comes to an end. And I never, ever have to play this game again. I had fun for the first, like, 30 to 40 hours of this game. No, 30 hours. I'd say I had fun, I think up until, like, 35. Episode 35, I think, is when it started to really go downhill. I think that was the moment. That was the time when it just started to drag on so much. Or I was just done. I just wanted it to be over. And now it is. It is. It's well and truly over. Hello, Cedos. I've never seen you over in this corner before. Yeah, we have... I'm like thinking about this, just like, this has been a heck of a ride, honestly, a heck of a journey. 7 years trying to get this game to work, to be able to play, to be able to finish it. Several attempts and restarts when I managed to get it working again, and then it stopped working again, and then I couldn't get it working again. This is attempt, like, number 5 to play and finish this game. This is attempt number 5. The episode that I ever did of Viva Piñata 7 years ago is still the most watched video on my channel. And this is it.
Your gardening is improving.
Level 108 seems to be the max. Let's actually go check things now. Make sure that I do actually indeed have so plant awards. Let's see. I should have Yep. We have all plant awards. Leaderboard. There is no leaderboard. Tool awards. Yep. Piñata awards. That's it. It's the storybook, which I don't care about.
This is Piñata Island. It's the most incredible place in the world, where living piñata roam wild. In the middle of the island is Piñata Central. It's the place where piñata packed with candy go, so they can be sent to parties all over the world. Around Piñata Central are lots of gardens, and the people who live on Piñata Island have learned how to care for the land so the wild piñata will stay in their gardens and fill up with candy. Candy-filled piñata can then be sent up to Piñata Central, so each party receives the piñata that suits it best. Piñata love parties. When they break open, it's like having 5 birthdays all at once. After the party, the piñata return to Piñata Island to fill up with candy and go to the next party. This is an amazing island, and my garden was the most amazing place on this island. I was famous here, but some pest took a dislike to me. To cut a long story short, all my hard work was ruined. I often wish that I was still young and strong enough to put the garden back in order, but those days are gone. Now the garden is yours, and you're facing a challenge that even I might not be able to beat. My name is Jardinero. You've probably heard of me, and if you haven't, then you should have. I am the best gardener on Piñata Island. Even after all this time, there's no one as good as I was. The land that you are messing about with used to be my garden. I could make any plant grow and have any piñata stay in the garden. Well, apart from one piñata. Let's face it, if I couldn't get one, no one else could. Now, forget about all that. You've got a long way to go before you can even call this a garden. Not long after I started the garden, I met my wonderful wife. She worked on the ships which traded piñata for other goods. This was in the days when piñata only left the island by boat. Piñata Central hadn't been built then. We got married the day that the first parts arrived to build Piñata Central. Mother, my wife, stayed on the island for a whole year, and our first child was born. We called him Stardust. When Stardust was 2 years old, my wife had to go back to sea. Piñata Central had installed the first canonata, and there were requests for more piñata than ever before. My garden was already impressive, and I could supply Piñata Central with really good piñata. With Mother gone, I set about teaching little Stardust about piñata and making the best garden in Piñata Island history. Little Stardust grew quickly, just like my garden. I hired a helper called Lester to do some of the less skillful jobs in the garden. He was okay, but he was always writing things down, drawing pictures and making plans. I'd ask him to do something and he'd mess it up. I'd tell him how to do it properly and he'd write it all down. If he listened more and wrote less, he might have been more useful. I also found him trying to take shortcuts. He'd miss out some important work just so he could pack an extra couple of piñata into a crate to Piñata Central. Stardust was learning more and more every day, which was a good job because I found Lester messing around with sweets. One afternoon, I was walking down past the gooseberry bushes when I found Lester stirring a pot of sticky red and black liquid, which smelled sour. The secret of Happy Piñata is good candy. It's one shortcut you can't afford to take. Start messing with candy, and who knows what effect it would have on a piñata. I sacked Lester on the spot, and little Stardust took over his job. Replaced by a little boy! Lester was quite angry about it, but I knew that Piñata Central only wanted the best piñata. It was a good job that Stardust was such a natural gardener, like his dad, because our little family soon had a new member. Our second child, Leafos, was born during Mother's shore leave. Mother had to go back to sea very soon after Leafos was born. I brought up Leafos, continued Stardust training, and maintained my fantastic garden. Leafos loved the garden so much she used to take flowers into her room at night. And it didn't stop there. She tried to take a marzipan to bed one night, and I had to draw the line. The next day, I gave her some paper and pencils, and she started drawing all the things she saw in the garden so she could put them up in her room. As she got older, she wrote about the plants and piñata as well as drawing pictures. In next to no time, her walls were covered with sketches and writing, so we made a book to keep it all in. That was the start of my journal, where a record of everything in the garden was kept. In the old days, I was an expert romance dancer. Mother was caught by surprise, and my second daughter was born at sea. Mother named her after the migrating storks that followed the ship. Little Storkos spent all her early years on the ships with Mother. She was taught to read by sailors and the comic books they collected. She grew up running around the decks, pretending to have superpowers. In the old days, the piñata had to fetch their own eggs from Egg Mountain. Lots of eggs were broken before the parents could row them home. Piñata Central needed more piñatas to fill all the party requests in all the gardens. Even mine couldn't romance the piñatas fast enough. When Mother's ship docked, Storkos came to the garden. She played and worked in the garden with Leafos and Stardust until one day, Storkos went missing. We called for her, but she didn't show up until 2 bunnycombs had done their romance dance. Swooping down from Egg Mountain with her cloak flapping behind her, Storkos flew into the garden and gently dropped off the bunnycomb eggs, safe and sound, into the garden. Overnight, the piñata romance dance problem was solved. Every piñata knew that its egg would be delivered safely. Storkos had become Piñata Island's very own superhero. Piñata Central had a regular supply of common piñata types, but my garden was the only place to get the really unusual piñata. I worked in the garden with my family. Mother visited as often as she could. Everything was close to perfect, and then my youngest son, Sidos, arrived, like the cherry on the cake. Mother gave up sailing, and we lived as a family in and around the garden for a short time. Sidos started to look after a shelly bean, then 2, and soon he had romanced them. He was very advanced for such a little boy, like a chip off the old man's block. Sidos and his family of shelly beans continued to spend lots of time together. When Piñata Central requested some shelly bean piñatas, Sidos happily sent the whole family. Sidos had taught the shelly beans all sorts of tricks, including the Tower of Shelly Beans and the Shelly Bean Burst. Those little Shelly Beans must have put on quite a show, because when they came home, there was suddenly a big demand for Shelly Bean piñatas. Obviously, Sidos followed in his dad's footsteps, becoming a piñata expert before he could talk properly. You probably heard I was the most successful gardener on Piñata Island, and that's not a boast, it's a fact. Suddenly, a rumor started that there was one piñata I hadn't managed to capture. I laughed when people asked me about it, but it was starting to bug me. Surely, if anyone could lure a dragonage into the garden, it was me. I was lucky, though. My old helper, Lester, showed up one day with an old map he'd said he'd found. The map showed a route over the sea to a little island where a wise man was supposed to live. Lester said that this man was the last known person to ever see a dragonage, and that he held the secrets to attracting one to a garden. I immediately started planning a trip. Mother would captain the ship to take us to the old man's island. Stardos was able to look after the garden with the help of Lifos. Storkos would keep an eye out for little Sidos until we returned. I was determined to prove once and for all that I was the greatest gardener the Piñata Island had ever seen. Mother was a brilliant captain. All her years at sea had made her able to navigate by the stars and read signs of the coming weather. She followed the course marked on the tatty little map until we found the island. As we approached, Mother noticed the telltale signs of shallow rocks. She tried to navigate through them, but a freak wave smashed the boat against a huge, jagged boulder. I fell overboard and Mother, clinging to the boat, was swept back out to sea. I'm a tough old boot, though, and I made it to safety, stranded on the beach of the strange island. I was sure Mother would be fine. She really is an expert sailor. Meanwhile, back on Piñata Island, things were taking a turn for the worse. Lester approached Stardos with an offer of help while I was away. Lester claimed he had made some new red and black sweets that were a shortcut to attracting Piñata. He invited Stardos over to his lair in the jungle to try them for himself. I was washed up on the beach, and when I tried to move, my legs wouldn't do as they were told. I struggled to the middle of the island. There was a shabby hut with an old man sitting outside. "Welcome to my island," he said. I could have survived on my own, but he looked like he needed help. I crawled over to him and told him about my incredible adventure to find a dragonage. The old man scratched his chin and then said, "I think you've been tricked." I suddenly realized that I had abandoned the children to a crooked pest of a man. I demanded that the old man help me to get home. "It's rather rude to rush off," said the old man. "I'm 65, you know, and I still have all my own teeth. I don't get much company these days, so why don't you stop for a chat, and I'll do my best to help you out." I spent the afternoon drinking tea and listening to the old man. It turned out he was a diggerling, and for years he had been digging strange and wonderful objects out of the ground. One object was a large egg, which, as the old man put it, was as close as he'd ever been to a dragonage. Eventually, the diggerling carried me down to the coast. He had a boat there that he used to visit his daughter, who lived on Piñata Island. The miner agreed to sail me home past the treacherous rocks and back to my family. The old man dropped me off at the docks and I built myself this chair out of old scrap I found. I sped down to the garden. It was like my worst nightmare come true. Piñata homes were smashed, the plants had all dried up, and the soil had been baked as hard as concrete. Lifos was hiding in the house. She explained that Stardos had gone into the jungle to meet Lester. As soon as he was out of sight, a gang of ruffians had arrived. They smashed up the garden, ripped my journal into pieces, and put all of the piñata in a crate and sent them to Lester. No, I can't call him Lester anymore. Pester is a better name for him. Storkos had stayed safe on Egg Mountain, and she had no choice but to keep on delivering eggs to other gardens. Little Sidos had run into the swamp with his Shelly Beans. They were his only family for some time. This seems to have really affected him. Now he loves seeds, just like the Shelly Beans do, and he calls himself Seedos. Stardos hasn't been seen since he went into the jungle, But a weird new character now hangs around the garden. He's known as Destardos, and he's creepy. But sometimes he reminds me of someone I used to know. Mother hasn't returned to Piñata Island. She must be having quite an adventure. And now, we're back to where you came in. I can't believe it. It seems like only yesterday when you appeared here on Piñata Island. You didn't look like much of a gardener, and my old garden had seen better days. I never thought that anyone could build a garden as successful as mine, but here we are. You have made most Piñata species resident, grown almost all of the plants, and proved that you are one of the best. If I had a hat, I'd take it off for you.
Well, that's that, isn't it? That is it. It's been a long road. It's been a very, very long road. I never know really what to say when I finish a video game that especially one that I've heavily invested in, like Viva Piñata. Do you have anything to say, Leophos?
When a Cluckles eat 5 different...
That's a lie. She just lies. She's so full of lies. But like... What's this? Oh. Yeah. We're really done. I'm trying to let it sink in that it's just like, yeah, we're done. This is it. I'm going to go uninstall the game and never open it again. Because I have not enjoyed the last 12 hours of gameplay. And we're going to see how long Trouble in Paradise takes next. Probably a long time. Probably a really, really long time. Anyways. This is the end. Thank you for watching. Click, comment, rate, subscribe. Fox out.